Welcome back to another episode of Julie and the Truck. Are you ready to go for a ride? So as you know, I'm a woman in construction. Perfect example, I started in this business when I was 21, back in the 80s when there was no women in this business that I know of. And then I think in the 90s there was a trickle of a few, and now women represent, I believe, 15% of the workforce in construction. But it's growing every year, so that's a good thing. But the thing about being a woman in construction is it's just another job, but one side of it is you actually have to know what you're talking about and have the experience to do the job, but it's not a man's job to be a contractor. A woman can be a contractor just as easy as a man, because it's all about knowing your stuff and then getting some actual experience in the field. But it's a fascinating business, because contracting and being a woman in the business still represents challenges, because there still is the men's club in a way. But I'm living proof that you can do it without too much hassle. Of course, there was hassles, but it's survivable, and it's not that bad. I mean, you just have to be ready to do it. So the good news is that women make good contractors, because we're organized. I mean, everybody's different, but women may be known for maybe being more organized, but it's a trait. If you're a really organized person, you'd make a good contractor. So it's interesting. But the biggest thing about this business is getting in there and experiencing it. So like, let's say you're 21, you're looking for a job, you need to get a job with someone else that shows you the ropes, or become a project manager, or work under a project manager. And that's the best way to get in the business, by the way. You don't have to swing a hammer or do drywall or plumbing or electrical, but you know, I, for example, learned how to frame because I wanted to prove to myself I could do it. But I've been standing in the dirt since I was 21 around contractors and listening and learning. So when I took my contractor's test, it was easy, because I experienced it and learned it by standing there and listening. So anyway, women in construction, it's a big deal to think about it, because there is a place for women and it's growing. And so I think it's a great career opportunity for young girls to think about the construction industry, because this business is never going to slow down. And just because it's supposedly a man's job doesn't mean you can't do it, because again, I'm living proof. I've been doing this for 30 some years, and it wasn't difficult in the way you think. It's just a learning curve, and getting used to being around men all day, which doesn't bother me, but it just is what it is. But I think it's a great thing to have more women in construction, and more women should think about it. So that's my other kind of tip, is think about construction as a business as opposed to decorating or architecture, because it's much more rewarding to actually build it. You know, designing it's amazing and mandatory, but to actually build it, that's the big deal, to actually get it built. So anyway, that's my tip. So I don't know if anybody really knows this, but one of the most famous people that ever built anything was a woman, and her name is Julia Morgan. So if you look her up, you'll find out that she worked with William Randolph Hearst and built Hearst Castle. She was the first engineer and architect in the state of California, a woman, go figure. And then she helped him build Hearst Castle, so you know she was the contractor running all the men, because she was on site every day. So I don't know if they had the contractor license thing going on back then, but she ran the job and she built Hearst Castle. So she's probably my most famous example of someone that I look up to, because I also start with the plans first, because you can't build anything unless you have plans. So my thing is, it all starts with a good plan, and then you build it per the plans. So I look up to her as an amazing inspiration. So I think for women that are in high school or thinking about college, maybe skip college and just go right into the trades, and then get a job with a really large construction company or even architectural firm, and focus on project management, because the more you learn about the plans and the construction is best. But let's say you just want to get into construction. There's so many large firms that have project management positions open at all different levels. that would be great to learn from. And of course, if you're really just starting, you can do an internship, and then you could work your way down to a smaller construction company after you have experience and actually be the project manager. So there's endless opportunity, my point is, in project management. You know, being the GC like me takes time learning it, but once you learn it, then you can become the GC. But if you want to just get into the business, project management is my tip of where to get started. Thank you for joining me in another episode of Julie in the Truck, and we'll see you next time.